My parents cut me out of the will for marrying my wife, but now they're begging for my help after the golden child brother betrayed them. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and if I'm being honest, my family has always been messed up. I never quite fit in, not the way my older brother Jay did. Jay was the golden child, straight A's, business school, married the woman my parents loved, took over the family business. Meanwhile, I was just me. I did okay for myself, but I wasn't their version of perfect. And when I married Elle, my wife, I guess that sealed the deal for them. She's strong, independent, and didn't put up with their passive-aggressive crap. My parents hated that. They wanted a daughter-in-law who would play by their rules, not someone who would challenge them. They made it clear she wasn't one of us from day one. I thought it was just the usual tension, but when they cut me out of their will, it hit different. It was like they were looking for an excuse to push me out, and I guess they found it. But here's the kicker. Fast forward a couple years, and now they're the ones begging me for help. All because their perfect son, Jay, screwed them over in the worst way possible. This is how it went down. I hadn't talked to my parents in almost 2 years. After the whole will thing, I figured, fine, I don't need their money or their approval. Elle and I were doing our own thing, living our lives a few states away, and I was fine with the distance. Then out of nowhere, my mom calls me. She's crying, which is already weird because my mom isn't exactly the show emotions type. I'm thinking someone's dead or something. But no, it's worse. Jay, their pride and joy, had embezzled hundreds of thousands from the family business and disappeared. Not just took the money. He emptied accounts, signed some shady deals, and left my parents holding the bag. The business was on the verge of collapse, and there was a real chance they'd lose everything. They couldn't find him, couldn't reach him, and they had no idea what to do. So now, after ignoring me for years and treating me like a backup plan, they suddenly needed me. And they didn't even have the decency to sugarcoat it. Please, my mom begged, her voice cracking. We don't know where else to turn. I could hear my dad in the background, too proud to say anything, but I knew he was listening. I let the silence hang there for a bit, just to let it sink in. You serious right now? I asked, barely able to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. You cut me off because of Elle, but now that Jay screwed you over, I'm the one you want to save you? My mom kept crying. My dad got on the phone after that, and he tried to keep it together, but he was practically choking on his words. We were wrong, he said, like it hurt him to admit it. We need your help, son. It would have been easy to hang up right then. I wanted to, but something made me pause. Maybe it was years of always wanting them to see me for who I really was. Or maybe I just wanted to prove to myself that I wasn't the asshole they always made me out to be. I'll help, I said finally, but this is my show. You do things my way. They agreed way too fast, like they didn't have a choice. Desperation does that, I guess. When I showed up at their house, it was worse than I expected. My dad looked like he hadn't slept in days, and my mom, she had that dazed, broken look, like she couldn't believe her precious Jay had done this to them. They were drowning in paperwork, stacks of unpaid bills, contracts they didn't understand. They were lost. And here I was, the son they barely tolerated, suddenly in charge. I didn't waste any time. I spent weeks going through every inch of their financials, trying to untangle the disaster Jay had left behind. The more I dug, the worse it got. The guy had signed some seriously sketchy contracts, borrowing money from people you don't want to owe. If things didn't get fixed, my parents were looking at not just bankruptcy, but maybe even jail time. It was a mess. But I kept at it. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still wanted to prove I could fix something my golden child brother couldn't. Elle was my rock through all of this. Every night when I came home exhausted, she just listened. She never told me what to do, just reminded me that whatever I decided, I didn't owe them a damn thing. She was right, of course, but the part of me that wanted closure couldn't let go just yet. The thing that really started to get to me, though, was the way my parents tried to pretend like nothing had ever happened between us. My mom would make small talk over dinner like we were some happy family again. My dad started throwing compliments my way. Stuff like, "You've really turned things around here, son." It was hollow, and they knew it. But they kept at it, like this would somehow wipe away years of resentment. Then one night, after another marathon of trying to fix their financial mess, my dad poured us both drinks and sat down across from me. He stared at the glass, not at me, and said, "I'm sorry." For a second, I thought he might actually acknowledge everything they'd done. Maybe admit that they'd treated me like crap for years, that they were wrong about Elle, that cutting me out had been a huge mistake. But no. "I should have trusted you with the business," he said. "Should have given you more responsibility." I just stared at him. He wasn't sorry for how they'd treated me. He was sorry he hadn't used me when it could have benefited him. It was about control, as always. I drained my glass, set it down, and left the room without saying another word. The next morning, I found out they'd been lying to me the whole time. They weren't just sitting around waiting for me to fix things. They'd hired a private investigator to track down Jay. They still wanted him back. After everything he'd done, they were ready to welcome him home, hoping he'd come in and magically fix things like nothing ever happened. That was it for me. I cornered them both in the kitchen. "You're still looking for Jay, aren't you?" I demanded. They didn't even try to deny it. My mom just crossed her arms and said, "He's our son. We can't give up on him." I couldn't believe it. I'd been busting my ass for weeks trying to help them dig out of this hole Jay had thrown them into, and they were still holding on to this fantasy that he'd come back and everything would be fine. "What about me?" I asked, my voice rising. "I'm your son, too. Or did you forget that?" My mom didn't even blink. "This isn't about you," she said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "We're doing what's best for the family." For the family, right? The family that had written me off years ago. The family that only wanted me around now because they had no one else. I felt like I'd been slapped, but it wasn't shock. It was clarity. I was done. "You know what?" I said, grabbing my jacket. "Go ahead. Find Jay. Maybe he'll fix your mess. But don't expect me to save you anymore. I'm out." My dad tried to say something, but I was already halfway out the door. I didn't even look back. That was the last time I spoke to them. A couple of weeks later, I heard they'd found Jay, living it up in some tropical paradise, drinking pina coladas on the money he stole. He didn't even apologize, just sent a letter saying he was done with them, that they wouldn't see him again. My parents were left with nothing, scrambling to pick up the pieces while their golden child sipped cocktails on a beach. A few months after that, I got a letter from their lawyer. Apparently they'd rewritten their will, this time leaving everything to me. Guess they finally realized Jay wasn't coming back. But by then, I didn't want anything to do with it. Their money, their house, none of it meant anything. It was just another attempt to buy my forgiveness, like a few zeros in a bank account could undo years of hurt. I tore the letter up and tossed it in the trash. My parents sold the house eventually and moved somewhere quiet. No one really hears from them anymore. As for Jay, he's probably still living his best life, somewhere far away from all the damage he left behind. Me? I'm good. I've got Elle, a life we built together, and the knowledge that I don't need their validation or their money. They tried to break me, and they failed. And to anyone watching this who's ever been treated like second best, don't let them drag you down. You don't need their approval. You just need to live your life on your own terms. Trust me, it's worth it.